Okay, so here's the pattern you guys will have at your disposal to look at. We've got one side cut so you can see what it kind of looks like. I've got these marked so you can kind of see the outline. And then this one over here, we've got marked the pattern, how we cut. So you can see this big square we're going to cut first. We're going to do that with the notcher. After we get this done, we're going to cut this little triangle out. We can do this also with the notcher. We can't use the squaring shears because if we do, it's going to cut off a chunk of our tab here. We can do these little pieces here with the notcher, but this inside piece will have to be done with the aviation snips, and if we're careful, we can do that piece with the notcher as well. So let's head over to the notcher and get set up and show you how to cut all these out. Alright, so here we are over at the notcher. I've got my piece. I'm going to start cutting these little squares out. I'm going to do all 4 first, and then we'll move on to the next step. Take our time, try and get everything lined out just right. Can't see that line, there it is. Alright, don't cut your tabs off, whatever you do. Don't cut too much out on this first cut. Line them up, get the point lined up with the corner. Now we're going to do this little piece along the edge of the hem. Don't cut too much off so you don't cut the hem off. And if you're not careful, you're going to cut a chunk of your tab off as well. We don't want that to happen. So again, set this down. Notice I've got this piece way out here. If I'm cutting it over here, I'm going to cut a big chunk off. Line up that one side. Cut. There. So we've got our basic shape cut now. We need to do some trimming with the notcher so we can have these 3 hems separated from each other now. And that's going to take 2 cuts each. We're going to line it up with the point on the edge. So you can see we still need to cut that little triangle piece off right there. So I'm going to do that too. Like that. Okay, so that one's now finished. We do the same thing on this side and the other 3. A little time consuming. That one was a little deep. Round and do the same thing on this side. So there's probably going to be a pretty good line here at the notcher while everybody's doing this. So if you want, instead of waiting in line, some of you can jump ahead and get the aviation snips when we show you how to do this part. Cut that little sliver out while you're waiting for the notcher. Alright, so I've got those tabs done. I still need to do these little pieces, and again that's going to take 2 more cuts. One to cut this little square out and then the angle. So we're going to do this piece here. In fact, to save time, I could have cut on that other edge I marked. So we're going to cut along the edge of my tab. And so if you see now this part's angled, I can cut this other little piece out with the notcher. Just like that. Same thing over here. We could do this piece first. So I've got my hem here. Now I'm going to cut this whole piece and the edge of the tab off all at once, like I should have done the first time. Okay. 2 more times. So we've got everything cut on the notcher. Next and final step for cutting is we got to cut those little slivers out with the aviation slips, so snips. So let's head over and do that. We've got our aviation snips here, yellow handled. Really you can use the left, center, or right hand cutting, any of the colors, just so long as we make sure we've got the silver blades, the silver tips. They tend to be quite a bit sharper. This is going to be tricky. We got to cut that little sliver out. So we're going to line those up as close as we can get them there. And cut. So there's our first cut. Now we got to get that little teeny sliver off, which can be really hard to do. Just do your best, and if it does jam, a lot of times they fold over. So I got most of it off, but there's still a little chunk. We can metal fatigue that off. Watch out for that piece. That's going to be very sharp right there. I'm going to do that 4 times in total. I've already got 2 of them done. I'm going to cut this one off, same way. If you cut just a hair past your line, makes it a little easier to get it to break off. Like that one. I got one perfect, finally. All right, so now we are ready to bend. Let's go over to the brake and get this all bent up.